So today I'm going to be doing a guide to deep cleaning alloys and tyres and getting them looking as new as possible and protected as well. I'm going to be talking about my full process and the different things that I consider when choosing chemicals, including the current condition of the wheels, and of course be talking about the accessories that I'm using too. As always, all the products are going to be linked in the description if you're looking for any as well. Now, the very first thing that I do on every wheel is give it a proper pre-wash. This is for the exact reason why you would pre-wash the rest of the car, and this is to reduce the risk of swirl marks and marring, which would dull the finish. The wheels are generally the dirtiest part of the car, so I definitely don't think skipping the pre-wash step is a good idea, and you're going to get a better finish if you do take the couple of minutes to do this step. Generally, I use a citrus pre-wash, sprayed onto a dry surface, left for a couple of minutes, and then I rinse it off with a pressure washer. You can use a wheel cleaner as well, but in general citrus pre-wash products are a little bit cheaper, particularly as most of them are dilutable, and also it's what I usually use on the paintwork as well, so it saves me having to mix up more chemicals. Some of my favourite citrus pre-washes are the Garage Therapy one, Yum Citrus, and also Squid Ink Citrus as well, if you are looking for some recommendations. Generally, if you dilute those 1 to 9, they're going to do a really good job. You may need to go slightly more concentrated if you're dealing with anything particularly grubby though. Now, before jumping into the wheel cleaners, I did want to talk about cleaning the arches as well, as this is a really important step that is going to make the difference in terms of making the car overall just look a lot fresher. Now, there are two types of wheel arches, carpeted and plastic. Now, for plastic ones, I will just give them a rinse with the regular pressure washer nozzle when I'm rinsing that pre-wash off the wheels. But with the carpet ones, I do find that using a turbo nozzle is really useful here, as it just gives a lot more cleaning power compared to using a regular fan nozzle. Just be careful if you are using a turbo nozzle, as you don't want it touching the paintwork or the wheel, so using it on a short trigger will allow you to be more accurate and just take your time when doing this step. So now onto the chemical that I use to contact clean the wheels. So generally, most wheel cleaners will fall into one of these 4 categories, those being wheel shampoos, colour changing wheel cleaners or 2-in-1 wheel cleaners, alkaline and acidic. So I'm going to take you through each of them individually and how I decide which to use. So the first one is a wheel shampoo that is the mildest of the 4 options. My favourite in this category is the Garage Therapy one, and wheel shampoos are great for cars that are relatively well maintained, as they do provide good cleaning power but aren't too aggressive. They also have the benefit of being very well lubricated, so it's going to reduce the risk of swirls and marring. Now, you can of course use a regular car shampoo for this step, and that is going to work fine, especially if you do clean your car very often. The main benefits of a wheel shampoo though are that they do typically have a bit better cleaning ability, which can be very useful if you are using it on the tyres as well, and also the suds don't dye quite as quickly when that wash solution gets a little bit dirtier. Now, I like applying a wheel shampoo either using my IK foamer or in a foam cannon as well, and I will also pop some in my wheel bucket too. Now, even if you are using any of the 3 other types of wheel cleaner on this list, then popping some shampoo in your wheel bucket as well is a decent idea, as it will help to lubricate the mitt and the brushes that you're using, and again reduce the risk of swirls and marring. Now, the second type of wheel cleaner is a colour changing one or a 2-in-1, and these refer to wheel cleaners that have iron fallout removers built in. They aren't the same as just a regular iron fallout remover, as they typically do contain other elements to help clean the wheel, but they can be very useful if you are dealing with a dirty wheel that has a lot of brake dust on it. The most talked about one in this category has to be Built Hamber Auto Wheel, which is a great product. The disadvantages of using this type of chemical are firstly that they are quite expensive, and it's generally not recommended to dilute them. Some people will dilute Built Hamber 1 to 1, but even then it is still more expensive compared to a lot of other options. And secondly, although the cleaning power of this type of wheel cleaner is very, very good, and is definitely a step up from a wheel shampoo, there are certain situations where if you're dealing with very baked on brake dust, that it just won't quite cut it. Now, the next category is alkaline wheel cleaners. So a good example here is Infinity Wax Incinerate. Now, these can be used in a couple of different ways. You can dilute them and use them regularly. This offers great value for money and does offer as well a step up in terms of cleaning ability compared to a wheel shampoo. Or in some cases you can use them neat. Now, it obviously depends on the product. And in the case of Infinity Wax Incinerate, the only time I'll use this neat is when I've tried another wheel cleaner, for example a colour changing one, and I'm still noticing a bit of baked on brake dust. Then I'll grab this product just to spot clean these areas. A lot of alkaline wheel cleaners also double up as tyre cleaners, so you don't have to use a separate product. It's not the case with everyone though, so do just check on the specific product you're using, but in the case of Infinity Wax Incinerate, it does work for that purpose too. And the final type of wheel cleaner is the acidic one. Now I generally tend to avoid using these if possible. They are very, very potent, and I really don't want to be breathing this type of chemical in or getting it anywhere near my skin. They also do have more potential to stain on particularly sensitive surfaces, but they can be very useful in specific circumstances where both an alkaline and a colour changing wheel cleaner just aren't cutting it. A good one to look at if you do require an acidic wheel cleaner is the one by High Definition Detail, and I usually dilute this to around 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, and it will shift pretty much anything. Now the next chemical you'll want to use is something to clean the tyres. Now if you are using an all-in-one wheel and tyre cleaner, then you're all set there, but otherwise there are a few different options. Firstly, you can use the wheel shampoo if you are dealing with a well-maintained car, but if the car isn't washed every couple of weeks, then you're probably going to need something stronger. A citrus or all-purpose cleaner is the next step up. This is great as it's dilutable, and you can use the same one that you used to pre-wash the car. But if you are looking for a really deep clean, then using a dedicated tyre cleaner is going to be the best bet. Now some people don't like these products as they aren't dilutable, so do have a higher cost per use, but for really resetting the tyres, they are a great option to go for. My personal favourite is Carpro Retire, and 1 or 2 hits with that, even on the grubbiest of tyres, is going to get them back to a really good standard. And then you can use either a wheel shampoo or a citrus or APC for those more regular cleans. Now there are several accessories that I do use to actually clean the wheels, the first of which is a wheel mitt, and my favourite is by the Rag Company. I prefer using a wheel mitt compared to using a brush, as it allows me to clean the area faster and my hand doesn't cramp up when using it. It also has the benefit of allowing you to get behind the spokes and clean those harder to reach areas which aren't really possible with a brush. You can also use something like the Carscope Wheel Weasel to wrap around the back of that spoke and give that a deeper clean, however I don't generally tend to do that very often. I also do use a soft brush in order to access the more intricate areas. For example, if it's a complicated design, I might use it in the corners, and I will always use it on the wheel nuts as well. The next accessory is a brush to clean the barrel of the wheel. Now, not everyone's going to want to do this, but if you are getting more into car cleaning, then this is definitely an accessory that I think is worth investing in. There are loads of different wheel brushes available, and I do have a video running through all the ones in my collection, but my 2 personal favourites are the Easy Detail brush, which has nylon bristles to provide decent scrubbing power, and it's good at accessing those tighter gaps. But on more sensitive finishes and more well-maintained wheels, then I will use my Carscope wheel brush, which is made from microfiber, and again does fit into a pretty narrow gap for this style of brush, and is more gentle on those delicate finishes. One thing that I did also want to mention at this point is that before putting my wheel brushes and my mitt back in the bucket, I will give them a quick rinse with my pressure washer just to remove the bulk of the dirt and brake dust. This will go a long way to keeping your wash solution clean and reduce the risk of marring the finish. The next brush that I'll use is one on the tyres. Now my personal favourite is the Detail Factory one. I've been using this for a couple of years now, and I think the bristles just have the right level of stiffness to allow me to properly scrub the tyres. I've previously used brushes which have a much stiffer bristle, and they can skate over the tyre wall a bit more, so I don't think they're quite as good of an option. In order to actually contact clean the arches, I will go for the Easy Go brush, as this bog brush style shape really does allow me to get to the back of the arches and give them a pretty thorough clean. Another accessory that I did want to touch on whilst discussing wheel cleaning is the rim mats that you might see me using in a lot of the videos on this channel. These serve a few different benefits. Firstly, they do allow you to raise the tyre on a slight platform so that you can clean and dress on that bottom edge. They also do stop stones and dirt flicking up when rinsing off the wheel as well. Now before I move on to the protection and drying step, I did want to quickly mention a product called Built Amber Atom Mat, which I dilute to 5% in distilled water, and that is really handy if you are noticing the brake discs go orange after washing the car, then this will help to reduce that. I usually just spray it on after rinsing the wheel down, and it helps to keep it to a minimum. Now, as is the case with the paintwork, protecting the wheels is a good idea, as it will not only help to keep them cleaner between washes, but also actually make them easier to clean as well. Now, there are a lot of different products you can use for this, and I think the 2 best from my experience are either a dedicated ceramic coating, which is my preferred option, as a good one will last a couple of years, and although the application is a bit intensive, the level of protection it provides I do think is worth it. However, if you're looking for something a bit quicker and easier, then a spray and rinse sealant is a good alternative. An example of this is something like Geon Wet Coat, which is applied to a clean wet surface and rinsed immediately to leave behind some water beading. Now, in order to stop water spots, drying the wheel is a must. So you can use a microfiber towel for this. I'll use a dedicated one specifically for the wheels to avoid cross-contamination with the paintwork. A good option is the Rag Company Gauntlet, as that comes in a mini size and has 2 different coloured sides, so you can use one for the alloys and one for the tyres to avoid cross-contamination there too. I do also like using my Blow-Air RS car dryer for this as well, as this allows me to dry the wheels a bit more thoroughly and blast water out of all the tyre treads as well, making them easier to dress in the next step. Now with the tyre dressing, again, I do think you can split this down into categories. The most easy way being the formulation, so you can get sprayable, gel-based or cream-based dressings, each of which have their own advantages and disadvantages. Gel dressings are the ones that I tend to use least often, as they usually are a bit glossier and can be a little bit more difficult to apply depending on the particular product. Some examples of gel dressings are Gion Tyre and also Maguire's Endurance. Sprayable dressings are really good for tyres which have a lot of grooves in the sidewall, as a little goes a long way and they spread very easily. Some of my favourites are Carbon Collective Sateen and also Carscope Ink. And finally, the cream-based dressings I generally find most suited to smoother sidewalls. My 2 favourites are Garage Therapy Tyre Serum and Yum Dress. Both of these also have the added benefit of helping to really moisturise that sidewall, which does sound a bit strange, but it does work really well to keep it looking in really good condition, rather than just making it look nice until the next wash. In most cases, I use a foam applicator, but sometimes I'll also use one of those little brushes, which can be good for a first application. I'll typically also knock back the finish slightly using either a Carscope finisher pad or a microfiber towel to fully even out that finish so there are no streaks left behind. Now, as I said, I will be linking all the products that I've mentioned, as well as some relevant videos in the description. And if you have found this video helpful, then it would be brilliant if you could drop it a like, and thanks very much for watching.